people that we talk with. Sarah Jones, who is with us this morning from the Daily Politicus USA, gets it right. She gets it right, guys. She definitely, with her posts and her articles, she gets it right, and she does it in a way that is informative, but it allows us to say, okay, I'm going to chart a path toward what I can get done and how I can get involved. So, Sarah, good morning, and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Good morning, Richard. I think I'm like everybody else in the country. These are challenging times, but I'm also really heartened. The No Kings rally, I don't want people to forget that energy. I know it's easy to lose faith the very next day, but it is a big sign that people are engaged and it's growing. And that's really important to keep our mind on. So keep our eyes on.
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't. The rallies were last weekend, and we didn't get a chance to talk last Monday because it's our alternate Monday. But you posted some great, as always, articles regarding that, and I said on Monday, and I said through the course of last week, asked the question, "What's next?" And so I want to, now that you and I have a chance to chat this morning, and we'll get to a couple of the other things that you posted. But what do you think is next? And there may be more than one thing, but what do you think is next? What do you want to see as next after now that we've had the rallies throughout the country?
Well, I know they're planning they're continuing to plan new things, which is very exciting, and I think they're so well organized. What I would like to see from people, though, aside from the protests, which I think are going to actually grow and continue to grow, and this is a very different sort of movement because it isn't focused on one march in one city. It's all over the country. And I didn't get to write about this, and one of the things that was really surprising to me here is, and I know I talk about this every time, but I live in this little Trump area, and we always have rallies here in town, in this very small downtown, but it's sort of a little blue dot, so that isn't this as big of a surprise, but as it might be, to look on the outside. But this last time, there were rallies in these towns all around here that have never had any kind of rally, and that was a surprise. These are Trump districts, like 71 points. This is a Trump area, and so I think that this is going to be a surprise for Republicans. So what I would like to, so all of that tells me that people don't like what's going on. But my concern is we have all these largely municipal elections coming up. And Democrats don't usually turn out to vote for these little elections, and they have to turn. Everyone has to. Independents and Democrats and Republicans who aren't MAGA, everyone has to get on the phone, text your friends, get people to turn out for this election, because what people don't understand is not only are those candidates breeding candidates for the future, but that is where people sort of cede their power. This is the beginning of their journey a lot of times. But secondly, these locations, your local elections have a lot of control over your daily life. And so you have to, we have to get as active on the non-MAGA side as MAGA is. The relentless way that they overturned Roe, that's what we need to see from everyone that's fighting to save this country.
Yeah, and I love how you position it in terms of you being in a blue dot community, but having a large amount of red surrounding that area. And candidly, I mean, I think this is the learning part of the learning for us, is that Republicans did show up in larger numbers in the districts that they are part of in local elections and certainly in national elections. And we have to bring that same kind of energy to these, not just the national elections, not just waiting for next year's midterms. I think that's, if there's a mistake that can be made by everyday regular folk and voters, it's to is to wait for the midterms for there to be some change. I think the change, using the word progressive, has got to be progressive, and it starts with what you said, Sarah, and that's voting in every single election, the local municipality elections. Last week we had on Amanda Weinstein, who's running for city council in Hudson County, Ohio, and that's an important election. It's a small community. It's a small election. I think she said 20,000 folks, but it's an important election to win because it starts with those smaller elections and we build from there. I talked to Representative Gene Wu from Texas, state representative, and he talked so much about the importance of local elections and us being more higher participation in local elections. And so you nailed it. I think part of the what's next is making sure that people are turning out right now, not next November only.
Right. And I think the other thing is that people, and I don't think this is true of your audience, so I'm probably talking to nobody, but it's worth saying because people in your audience probably know people like this. There is this large energy of sort of wet blanket defeatism on the left. And I do want to speak like to anyone that knows someone like that. I just had a dialogue with someone who I really like, but who carries that energy. And sort of my response sort of was like, how do you think that is helpful? Because what if everything you're saying is true and we're doomed and, this is it and we're done and there's no point to anything? What would you choose to do going forward? My approach to that would be, and I don't believe that that's the case, but if that were the case, I would want to go down fighting.
Yep.
I want to go down waving the flag and saying, you come and take this from me, And I've been watching these videos of Americans standing up for their neighbors and waving the flag. And one of them was yelling at ICE officials and saying, I will die for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought, yes, I feel that way. That I will die for this. This is my country. I believe in freedom and liberty, and I am not going to back down. I am not going to be intimidated. Yes, I feel completely gutted by what is happening. Yes, every day I feel that. I live this all day for work. I am, just drowning in that emotion constantly. When I see someone assaulted, when I see what's happening to the White House, when I see and I hear their comments, telling federal agents wrongly, I might add that they have immunity and can do whatever they want. That's not true. There are some, that is a nuanced discussion, but overall that is not true. And those things gut me. They just absolutely are a punch to the gut. But the response to that can't be, okay, then come and take it all.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We have to gather ourselves and gather our friends and our family and our neighbors and say, that's not the way this is going to happen.
No.
If this does happen, we're going to go down and everybody in the world is going to know we did not consent to this.
We did not go down without a fight. And that's one of the things that, the opening of the show, I've been saying the last couple of weeks, progressive Democrats, it's, chins up and shoulders back. It's time to fight. It's been time to fight for a long time. I think we know that, but I'm not trying to sound like I'm punishing or not punishing, but I'm getting upset with anybody for what they didn't do. But right now, draw your own line in the sand and say, to what Sarah's point was, we're not going to go down without a fight. And that's if one, to your point also, Sarah, subscribes to the thought that we're going down. I don't think we are. I think that there is. I don't think that we are if we fight. But if we don't fight, then we will. And
right, absolutely.
And so that distinction needs to be made. If we don't fight, yeah, we are. That we're going to yield to this tyranny and to this oppression. But I'm fighting every day. Certainly with my show and with the people that I talk with and the things that I'm trying to do to keep people encouraged. and you are as well, and others are. I mean, you're doing it every day with the articles that you post. I mean, I say this all the time when you're on, guys. You need to get with Sarah's work. It's just if you need a reminder, if you need something that's going to give you energy and something to read and think about, you need to subscribe to her Substack. You need to follow her on social media. Her posts are extraordinary. Her articles are phenomenal, not in just the content, but how they're written. And Sarah's really good at giving you the 2-minute drill version, but it's her form of fighting, and it's her form of staying in the fight. And for you guys, I want you to follow what she's doing to encourage her to stay in the fight, because everybody needs some encouragement in this fight. We all do. And I think in community, like Gavin Newsom said in the clip that I played earlier, Sarah, it's about maintaining the community that we know is important to us, and it's about maintaining the ability to be in the fight. So I think that's so critically important. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Sarah Jones. Sarah, you posted some, as I say all the time, some great articles, and one of the ones that caught my eye is if the Democrats win the House, they're coming after Trump's DOJ. So walk us through what you see this playing, how you see this playing out. We win back. Let's just pick a number. We win back 5 seats, or we have a 5. Let me put it this way: we have a 5-seat majority on November 10th next year. So we've won back the House. And let's say that there's a 50-50 in the Senate, and J.D. Vance, of course, is going to be the tiebreaker. I'm just pulling this out as what, not solely from guessing, but what I kind of think might happen. What do you see or think we're going to see if the Dems win back the House of Representatives?
Well, then you have subpoena power as the House Judiciary. You know, that committee will be able to start investigating a lot of these abuses of power and beginning to hold accountable some of these overreaches that we've been seeing. The weaponization of the DOJ, for example. And I would also say, because we know this is coming, the weaponization of the IRS, which I was a victim of from Trump twice. Those things, it's good to have oversight. Like right now, we have Republicans have ceded the constitutional frame of, having the Congress be a check on power for the executive, for example. So if Democrats take back the House, they will begin to set that right now. Because of what is likely to happen in the Senate, we're not going to see legislation that we might want to see. But it is these checks on power that is essential, and that will begin to happen. And I think Democrats are just beginning to get the message that they can't continue to do politics like they've been doing it. And so it's good to see, but they still need to be pressured. Everybody needs to continue to demand from them that because I think you touched on this earlier, and I think we always get to this point because it just blows my mind. But, we wouldn't be here had Nixon been held accountable properly. And we wouldn't be here if George W. Bush's imperial presidency model had been put to right. And a lot of that was the way he took over the DOJ with careerists that were political. And so all of these things, what happens is everybody, when Democrats win back power from what has largely been a Republican sort of attack on the way that the country is supposed to work, the co-equal branches of government, Democrats have been like, okay, we'll just sweep it under the rug and we'll move forward. Well, we can't do that. No. And so we need to make sure we have Democrats who understand that message. And one way they can get that message is what you already said, people contacting them. And I would say, if you look at what the Tea Party did to try to stop affordable health care, they were insane, right? They screamed at everyone. Well, I'm not suggesting people be rude like they were and making death threats like they did. That is not the right way to move forward. But to be a problem, people need to be a problem for everyone who is paid from their money, right? Because being nice is not getting the job done. You can be polite, absolutely, but you need to be a menace to them. They need to be tired of hearing from you. And that is what needs to happen, right? Because that is what they respond to, because they know that's a vote.
Yeah.
And
Eric Grant says this often on the Family Meeting, which is another show that's on WCPT. And I'll glean a little bit from him on that. We need to make sure that they understand the impact and the import of fiscal and physical pain. Now, physical pain doesn't mean we're going to go out and punch somebody in the mouth, but they need to be the Democratic Party as we go forward. And this is why I say this all the time. We can be critical and complimentary and push them forward all in the same breath, all in the same sentence. But there needs to be this fear from the Republicans. The Democrats need to put some fear out there that says they need to think they're going to get punched in the mouth. And we as Democratic voters and supporters need to let our Democratic leaders know there should be some fear that you're going to get punched in the political mouth if you don't go to the elected office that you're elected to, whether it be local, state, or federal, and do the work. And that there needs to be that little bit of fear that there's going to be some pain that comes your way, some fiscal or physical pain. And the fiscal side of this, Sarah, is that we're not going to financially support, you or the businesses or whatever until you decide to act right. And so that is a message that I believe, and I like one of our listeners just sent a text to me that agrees about the wet blanket people. They've got to sit down. Basically, shush is the word that our good listener shares with us. They need to shush if they're not going to get the work done. And then this is not just the elected officials; it's everyday people. If you're going to, that's those folks right now. It's an interesting balance, Sarah. We want those people who are carrying around that wet blanket to get out and vote and be participating in this process. But if you're not going to, then you kind of need to be quiet. If you're just going to scream and yell and whine, then you need to be quiet, because we need people that are going to step up and have a voice that's about going forward. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I completely agree. I had an insight with the person I was speaking to that some of this seems to stem from a depression, and I think that is a common thread that runs through part of the left, because it's always been, in my lifetime anyway, it has been the underdog side of politics. I mean, since for the last, I would say at least for the last 40 years, this has been a very moving forward conservative kind of, at least when you compare the United States to Europe, for example, our left, right, is sort of their middle. And so, and we keep moving further and further to the right in a lot of ways, and especially the way things are framed and told to us through the media. So I understand why that would bring out a sense of depression in people. And I started thinking about that because a lot of times that attitude has really made me angry, frankly, because it's like, oh, I'm so glad you can indulge this feeling. While meanwhile, vulnerable people are out there.
They don't have the time.
Rights.
They don't have the time. They don't have the time
to sit around.
And I said, I used this phrase earlier, and I say certain things, and I'm just mindful. I try to be. Everybody knows by now. I say what I believe and what I mean, but I do it in a way as mindfully as possible. But I said, the navel gazing has got to end. We can't, and clutching our pearls has got to end. It's time for action. And
God.
but we say that, and Sarah's just like, you're like just like racehorsing right now, and I get it. We want to help those people, be. We don't want to leave anybody behind, but if you're not going to be fighting right now, then you need to shush. Like our listener Cassandra in Oak Park, Illinois says, you need to shush and let those other voices be louder and stronger voices. So but it's a delicate balance because we don't want anybody to feel like we don't care. However,
well, you know what? I'm not sure that even matters. My thing, and I know I know that's a strange thing to say, but this is kind of what I'm not saying to alienate people. The Democrats have had a tough, because they had a big tent. Not sure they do anymore, but they had a big tent where it was sort of like welcome all these people. But if you look at a lot of those different factions didn't show up to vote.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, I think about this a lot going forward. And I just saw like one of the federal unions that came out and said this shutdown has to end. We need a clean CR. And I thought, well, that's really nice. We've been out here advocating for your rights all this time. And now you're saying like, too bad for everyone that needs healthcare. Which is their life. Like, I understand your jobs are on the line right now, but guess what? A lot of us, especially like in the journalism field, we've all already had our jobs taken from us.
Yep.
And we have that happened in the first Trump administration and that erosion continued. So, it's a weird thing that I see. There's a lot of a failure to understand that we're all in this together. And I'm sort of at the point now where it's like, yeah, we don't want to say we don't care about you. But on the other hand, I sort of do want to say, if you don't care about us, then I don't care about you.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy anymore to carry people that don't care about others. And I noticed that they didn't show up to vote. So, that's a babysitting job. I'm not interested in that. I want to get in. We're in this fight. We can't babysit people.
We want to get elbows deep in this fight, and that's one of the reasons that I will be as always candid and transparent with everybody. I struggle with that too. It's like, wait a minute, y'all. If you're going to sit back and whine, then step aside. Just get out of the way because we know where we are. Anybody that doesn't know where we are right now or isn't paying attention to it is truly exercising their privilege in life. If they don't
that's what it is.
You know what I mean? If people don't stop and say, wait a minute, this is crazy. And to that point, somebody else's life is being dramatically affected in a negative way by these executive orders and now this bill and all the rest. And if they can't see that, then it's a struggle, but there's a part of us that says we can't carry you anymore. We can't. You've got to get in the fight. And I know that there are a lot of people who are struggling trying to figure out how to fight. What should they do? And I hope I've been able to provide some sources and ideas about how people can get involved and be a part of the process. I just had someone ask me this question. Weather's changing now in parts of the country, and it's going to be hard for people to get out and protest. That's true, but it's not impossible. So I asked the question, which is harder, to not protest and fight or to sit back and take it? And for me, sitting back and take it is just not how I'm built. And I want to encourage as many people, let's keep talking to folks like Sarah's been doing and try to encourage those who might, have a damp blanket. It's not soaking wet, but it's a damp blanket. But let's encourage them to get into the fight, and let's try to help them cast off that negativity and cast off that sense of doubt and woe is me, and get into the fight because it's going to take all of us to win this thing. If the Dems win the House back, the Dems win the House back because we all get in the fight. That's the bottom line.
And that's going to hold people like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel accountable. So we have to stop thinking about like, oh, I want all the power, and I want to fix all this. Yeah, that would be lovely. I want that too. But that's not how this is going to happen. We are looking at making carve outs and stopping a freight train that's coming at us. So we're putting pieces in front of the freight train. And it is a one thing at a time to slow this freight train down until we can take power back.
I love that.
So that's what this is all about.
I love that analogy, Sarah. You and I have been to the School of Analogies this weekend. I love that one. Listen, guys, we're going to leave you with that. And I'm going to say it again. I'll say it in my words. We may not be able to get everything right now. And I said a part of this earlier, but we want to get as much as we possibly can, which means everybody's got to get into the fight. But if we can stumble this train just long enough for us to get back control of it, then we'll put it on better tracks. So if we got to throw some bricks and some, bottles and whatever else in the way of this train, which is incrementally getting back certain offices so that we can start to dismantle what this administration is doing, that's got to be part of our strategy. So Sarah, I really appreciate you kind of putting it that way, because that is really, really where we are right now. So we got to take every little bit we can take until we build up enough momentum to take back more and then take back more. And that's kind of where we are. We never have enough time. We may have to start changing this up and having this be where you're on for an hour, because we have so much to talk about. But
we do. We're just getting going. I know.
Train's just getting going. Sarah, I'm glad you're with us. Listen, you've been busy as hell, writing so much. I know it takes a lot out of you, but I just want to let you know that my show, our listeners support you. I want to continue to urge you to continue to do the work that you're doing, because it's meaningful and it's important, okay?
Thank you so much. And I feel the same way about you and your show and all your listeners. So really appreciate all of that energy.
Very much. Back at you. Talk to you soon. Sarah, stay well, all right?